So far, most of our work has been about how the app looks like, with the exception of yesterday, where we started introducing some concepts of backend. Today, that is the only subject we're going to be talking about. Might be boring for some of you, but guess what? Front end and what we've done so far is all about how your app looks. What we're going to continue to talk about today is how your app actually works and what makes it work in the first place, right? And I just want to break one concept totally apart. Databases are not technical stuff, right? Most people that just start off, including me, when they hear the word database, backend, whatever, they mentally check out. But that's a mistake, really. Same way we vibe coded our way so far into our building the user interface is how we're going to be able to complete the backend side of things, mostly because of Lovable Cloud, if I'm being honest. If I recorded this a year ago, we would have to start going a little bit technical, connect the pipes, so to speak. Now it's just one click of a button, or better say, one prompt, really. Let's start prompting immediately, right? Instead of just yapping, I'm just going to go switch over as usual to the prompts, and let's set up the database for the Builder Journal app that we've been building so far. So I'm just going to copy this prompt and go back to where we last stopped, which is, we prompted our way to build our Google authentication, and now we want to make sure that everything we do in this app immediately gets saved. Now, if this is the first time you ever approve a database, you're going to get a couple of approvals screen from Lovable, right? The first one being is that you will likely need to give it permission to enable Lovable Cloud, right? Since it's already been enabled for us previously because of building authentication, the next set of approvals will mostly be around modifying your database. And I know you're just looking at this and you're freaking out, right? If you're seeing it for the first time, you definitely don't know what this means at all. This is called SQL or SQL, right? Whatever you want to call it. If you don't know what it means and if you don't know what it does, it basically translates what I've just said here into the type of code that Lovable will understand. Basically, if you look at it the way it's explained in the transcript, so to speak, right? These are kind of the relationships and the way you should think about it. We're now trying to introduce a couple of things. Tables, which will be buckets of facts for us and for our project. We're going to define relationships on how those tables and facts connect. And we're going to implement policies to define who is allowed to see what. So in that sense, this is what this RLS and SQL script provides us with the ability to do. And as you can see, we're enabling row-level security for our table, meaning that is how we're going to define who gets to see what. This is how we define which tables we're building, right? As you can see, Lovable is giving you at least a human-friendly way of explaining what each of these are about. If you're like me and you want to get educated on this, what I've done for the first time when I was doing it, I just copy this, I go to ChatGPT, and in there, I just ask it to explain this to me like I'm 10 or whatever. I'm not technical, and I don't know what any of this means. Can you just explain this to me like I'm 10 years old, right? That don't have to be like 5. I think that sometimes when you say you're 5, you're going to get a bedtime story. But as you can see, this is a rule book and the filing cabinet for an app that stores your ideas, prompts, links, right? So again, it just explains to you what this is all about. If you're like me, you're not going to want to see this every time you're trying to make a database change. All you have to do to give Lovable full permissions is click on this Ask Each Time toggle, choose to always allow it, and simply allow for a database modification, and you will no longer see this pop up in front of you, right? There are certain approval levels when you're enabling connectors, such as Lovable Cloud and Lovable AI, which we will be approving soon on this app as well. For all I know, Lovable is much better backend developer than I am, so I'm just going to let it build this, and I'm not going to stress myself too much with it, right? Let's go back to our prompts and acknowledge that this is only the first step, right? We've only built the structure of the database. Most times, Lovable will do the second part automatically as well and lock down your app with row-level security. Again, as a reminder, this just simply provides levels of permission to your database tables, meaning who's going to be able to read, create, update, and delete things, right? Or as an abbreviation, CRUD explains best. So if you see CRUD anywhere, that's what this means. Create, read, update, delete, right? Let's just copy the prompt and go back here. And again, I know that Lovable probably already did this, but we're just going to hit the nail in the head, because this is important. Later down the road, when we go through the publishing flow and security review, this is where it will be extremely important to define these and make sure that they're properly configured, right? So if we go back here, I will, in the next step, build the first basis of something that's known as an edge function. And before I do that, I should probably first explain what edge functions really are, right? Again, if you go back to the transcript, you can, in human language, see that the simplest way to explain them is that they're simply bridges. They allow your app to talk to the outside world in a safe manner, right? You want to bring in something external, whether that's an API or process data or keep secrets away, you will use an edge function to access that capability, right? Lovable is a very powerful tool, and it has a lot of seamless connectors which are available within the app, but there are maybe things that you want to integrate on your own. One of them could be email, another could be payments. Edge functions are how you connect those external superpowers or APIs in a safe manner, right? So that's exactly what we're going to do, just so that I can show you where they're stored and how they're working. That's our step 3 for today. Copying the prompt, going back here, making sure that Lovable did the database migration for Crude, and all I'm going to do is paste this right here and send it. Now, as I'm waiting for this to be built, I want to show you where all of this lives. Navigate to cloud by clicking this button. We've been here before, so by now you should be familiar with it. Now you can see that my database has increased. Last time I was showing you this, if I recall well, it was only profiles and user roles. Now it's all of these other things that we need for our app to come to life. Ideas, project notes, prompts, projects themselves, resources, everything is inside there, right? And you can manage users from your database, which is something that we've already done, but also files, right? In our case, we currently don't have the need for it yet, but we can develop a feature which would require storing PDF files or storing images or something like that. And that's where these would be configured in. I talked a little bit about RLS and row-level security and what does that entail. If you ever want to review them, or better say have ChatGPT review them for you, just click on this RLS policies button, and then you can look at and observe them individually for each table, or the way I like to do it, it's just for all tables, and then just see the permission levels that this application currently has and provides. Personally, again, when I was first starting off, I would just copy all of this or take screenshots, like whichever works, and then just basically go and ask ChatGPT, is this app secure? We're going to do that in Lovable too. But I'm just trying to get you to think that this is an opportunity to get educated, not just build seamlessly, right? So let's do this exercise right here. Can you explain me, now that I've implemented these RLS policies or whatever they're called for my tables, are they legit? Is my app safe? Right? And then just paste it away, right? And we'll just let a ChatGPT analyze this, and says that it's protected against the most common and serious data leaks, that RLS is legit, and this is real security, right? Excellent, right? That's exactly where I want us to be now. It's not like at this point, you don't need to think so deep into, oh my God, is this, does this pass all the penetration tests? Like, we're very early into the build. We're just trying to lay a healthy foundation, right? One of such is, again, the ability to fetch URL metadata, right? What I've built here essentially is when somebody goes into the resources and wants to add a resource URL, it should automatically fetch the title and find whatever else was needed to be done. So let's go to our app and again, test this out. And we're going to paste February. And as you can see, it was able to fetch the title and the description automatically. So yay, I didn't have to do this. Lovable did it. You just built your first edge function, right? And to see how it performs and to understand whether it works or not, because sometimes it's not as obvious as this, especially when you're connecting with an external tool, just go to the cloud and navigate to edge functions. That's where you can see everything that you need to know. First thing you will have is the name of the edge function, right? And then you will have its statuses and deployments and invocations. Then you will be able to see, as you've seen in the UI, that I was able to successfully do this, right? If it failed, this is exactly in the logs where it would say why it failed and where it failed. You can just expand these raw data logs and you can copy them, and you can also take them to ChatGPT to learn stuff. But if you ask me, because this already lives in Lovable Cloud, there's no need to. If this function failed, all that I would do is tell Lovable something like this. Hey, my edge function failed. I don't know why. Here are the logs. As simple as that, right? Lovable will know this, by the way, already, but if it doesn't, again, this is just an overkill for me to show you how this process looks like. 99% of the time, when edge functions do fail, Lovable will flag it and place a try to fix button for you to click on and proceed with the fix process. Okay, awesome. So let's proceed with adding our next edge function and the first superpower. Let's add AI features to our app, right? Specifically, I feel that I want to enhance my prompts and my ideas as I'm building this app. So I'm gonna copy this prompt and I'm gonna paste it in here, right? I'm gonna close the cloud menu and then send this to Lovable. And if you do this for the first time ever, Lovable will at this time also ask you for an approval to trigger Lovable AI. And to learn more about cloud and AI and their balances and everything else, you can go click on your project name right here, and then go to your settings. And then once you're in the settings, all you have to do is navigate to connectors, right? And by the way, hint, we're going to talk about a lot of these going forward. Lovable connects seamlessly with dozens of tools: ElevenLabs, Stripe, Firecrawls, Supabase, Slack, Perplexity, Shopify. Today, specifically, we're talking about cloud and AI. And by clicking on these, you can manage permissions, right? By clicking here on View All, as you can see, I can define what are some of the things where I want to be in control versus let Lovable assume full control. Like you can actually also have Lovable ask you each time when you want to enable the cloud. Personally, I just don't want to be bothered. I always want it, so I'm just going to let everything to be fully allowed. When it comes to enabling AI, same thing. It can ask you each time, or you can always allow it to proceed, and you're not going to need any API keys or setup. Now, you may ask, okay, if I enable AI, which model is enabled, right? And these are currently the available models inside Lovable, right? That you can ask Lovable to implement. You can say that you want Gemini Pro 3 preview, or you can say that you want GPT 5.2, whatever. Whichever of these models you want, all you have to do is just ask the agent when you're implementing AI functions to do it. Otherwise, it will default to one of the Gemini models, sometimes to GPT, depending on what type of functionality do you want to extract from it, right? So that's how you manage and you see settings for your cloud and AI enablement, right? Let's go back here and look at the process. We're quite close to finishing, and then the last step for today before we wrap it up is going to be doing an audit, right? So we kind of did this external audit, but technically, like, this is not happening in our application. Like, I could copy all of this and take it back to Lovable, but why would I do that when I can have Lovable assume a role of a security reviewer for me, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to do is in this final step for today. I'm going to copy this prompt and I'm going to place it right here, just as Lovable is finishing up and updating the changelog for me. And I'm gonna add this message to the queue so that it's sent next. And as you can see, that at Gemini 3 Flash, no API keys needed. And then it's telling me how to test it, right? And providing me with rate limits and information and all that. So let's try and see. Hover on the card, Sparkle, get one paragraph. Okay, let's try and do something here. I want to build a builder journey app, right? And then I can actually click on this little sparkles icon. And as you can see, I just triggered an AI function, right? Very simple, never did any technical work for this to happen, right? I'll go to the cloud. Let's do another refresh. Where do we go? Edge functions, that's right. Now we can see this edge function inside AI Assist. All I gotta do is click. Again, I can see it's been deployed twice, invoked twice, both times successfully. I click, I read the logs, and I can see that it wrote 608 characters back to me based on my input of 38 characters, right? That's how you read this, by the way. Like, as you progress, as you start doing this over and over, this is gonna become normal to you to read. You will know exactly what to look at versus what not to look at. Again, if you need to learn or have explanations, just copy this, go to ChatGPT and just try, or ask Lovable to teach you for that matter, really. Okay, let's disable cloud and let's confirm what's happening with our app, right? And as you can see, Lovable, it just did a quick security review and found a couple of too restrictive policies, right? So sometimes that could be a problem. You can actually overprotect your app, right? RLS can be your best friend or your biggest enemy. If your policies are too loose, everybody on the web can access user information, and we don't want that. But they're too strict, you can almost lock yourself out of your own data, right? So there's a fine balance between these, right? And this is where I like to periodically ask Lovable to help me. And Lovable has an idea which fixes wants to apply. I will provide it with that permission. Again, I love using these prompt pills. They're very quick. They're very aware of the conversation I have with Lovable. And I'm just going to let it finish cooking this for me as we wrap up today's session. If you need any additional resources or you want to read more about Lovable Cloud, integrations or connectors that Lovable supports, and learn more about a new feature, which is how test and development environments work. I'm not going to cover that today. These are really lessons for people just starting off, right? So I'm not going to spend too much explaining how to manage different environments for now. All that you have to understand is, and the key of today is, backend is what makes your app work. And it's defined by tables, by relationships and rules. You need to make them permissive enough for the app to be usable, not too loose so that the data gets exposed. If you want to bring any superpowers into your app, please remember, Lovable has a bunch of them already in the connectors menu. Check them out, use them all, try them all. They're not going to require almost any setup from your side, right? If, however, you want to use something that's not on this list, just remember there's a safe way to do it. You're bringing those external superpowers by using edge functions and adding secrets inside this menu, right? Lovable will provide a small prompt box for you when you want to add a secret so that it's done the safe way. And I can just test this out really quickly. I'll just prompt Lovable right now, ad hoc, off script, to add email sending functionality as some kind of a reminder or something like that. And it will prompt me to add a resend API key. Please implement resend API key. I plan to introduce email functionality to the app later down the road. For now, all I want is to have that capability, and I want to add a secret into my project, right? So I don't know what I'm going to use it for. All I'm trying to demonstrate to you today before we wrap up is this very last step. And as you can see here, Lovable may ask me questions. I'm going to use resend in my, and then as you can see right here, Lovable very safely prompts me to add a secret. And I'm just gonna, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna delete this anyway. I'm just adding a random password so that I can submit this and show you that this indeed will be added in as a saved secret in the menu and safely stored so that nobody else can see it, and it will say resend API key, right? Sometimes when you do migrations or any database changes, it's always good to refresh, and that's quite normal. So if you don't see something, just refresh your preview. Again, go to secrets, and I can confirm right here that the resend API key has been added in. Nobody else can see it except who needs to, or the function itself that is exposed to. Even I can't see it anymore. I can delete it, but I can't see it. And I think that's the best part about doing this, that you don't have to be technical in order to keep your app secure. All right, lots of stuff today. Tomorrow is the most important day so far, because tomorrow I'm going to show you how I'm building. This is more of like how I think people that are starting off should be building. Tomorrow, I'm going to reveal all of my secrets. So I can't wait to see you then. Peace.